he's a prosecutor and a defendant has come across his way who he doesn't think deserves to be prosecuted. So he kind of goes out of his way to solve this crime in which he unveils corruption and blah, blah, blah.
Quickly decides that being a lawyer is boring and decides to just start fighting crime
just be
again.
a detective.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Two Asian Blokes Podcast, a podcast where we talk about Asian pop culture, films, TV shows, comic books, anime, music, food, video games, whatever we're feeling at the time, really. My name is Dan with H. With me, as always, my co-host Tavi. Hey, Tavi.
It's hot.
Still hot in Melbourne somehow.
It's autumn, summer's over, and we're still having a heat wave. For a lot of people who have been following us for a while, I regularly complain about summer.
Yeah.
Because I think it's the worst season out of the four. And I think also by a long way as well.
Yep. You're like IU, Tavi. IU also hates summer.
Oh, really? There you go. We're more compatible. Oh, my Lord, IU. Command me.
People should check that episode out from last week. It's just a long extended rant about how IU is the master of all things.
Yeah, the common day Nosferatu. But yeah, man, it's just like this summer's been like the most unpleasant summer, I think. Just long stretches.
Yeah.
Just long stretches. It hasn't reached 40. It only reached 40 once, but just long stretches of 30-degree days. And it's just that I have to do a lot of work during summer, and it's my least productive season because I'm just tired all the time and frustrated because I can't think properly. Yeah, summer sucks.
We've got some news that sucks today, Tavi, unfortunately.
Yeah, we do.
But we are also going to be talking about the new Audition remake announcement. We're going to do a mini review of Presence and The Monkey before getting onto the main topic of today's episode, which is The Prosecutor, action movie starring Donnie Yen. I'll put time codes in as always, but before we get to that, let's get to some terrible news, Tavi.
Yeah, we're not starting this one off in a very light manner, unfortunately.
No.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. South Korean actor Kim Se-ron was tragically found dead at her home in Songdong-gu, Seoul. She was 24 years old. People probably know her most from The Man from Nowhere, or Ajashi, as it is known in Korea, action movie starring Won Bin. She was a child when that movie came out.
Yeah, I think Brand New Life was her debut, and that was the one that got her recognition as an actress. And then I think her second film was Man from Nowhere, the one that we first saw her in.
Yeah, she's done films like A Go at My Door.
I've seen A Go at My Door. That's a brilliant movie. It's very heavy, which is maybe too apt to the situation as to what happened to Kim Se-ron, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Kim Se-ron had a DUI incident, which was quite publicly reported. And basically, she had since been blacklisted from a lot of the projects she was on. And she was the victim of a lot of online harassment, and to the point where it seems to be suicide as the cause of...
Yes, that is the conclusion that they have drawn currently.
But yeah, no, it's sad because I think she was a really talented actress. I saw her a little bit in Bloodhounds, and she was unrecognizable at that point. I didn't even know it was her. And it was kind of shit that they just booted her off the show because of this one incident. And yeah, it sucks. I mean, it doesn't excuse what she did, but I think when she did it, I don't imagine there was malcontents behind what she did. So,
well, I mean, I mean, driving under the influence, obviously something that shouldn't be done generally. But I mean, the accident, it only really resulted in property damage. No one was really hurt. Yeah, I mean, people have done worse. And celebrities have done worse. Other celebrities that were not cancelled have done worse. So, I mean, it's just a tragic thing that could have easily been avoided, really.
Yeah. I mean, you and I have talked off air the difference between harassment from Korean netizens probably versus Western netizens. I think we've had discussions, especially when we've talked about K-pop offline and the scrutiny that they go under. And yeah, sometimes Korean netizens, well, honestly, most of the time, they're really just a next level of, I guess, evil, really.
But they're passionate, but that passion goes both ways. Yeah, it can go
Yeah.
very positively and a lot of the times quite negatively.
Yeah, and it just really sucks. It's definitely, it does happen a lot to women, which is unfortunate because I know that there have been cases of men who have been in similar predicaments, but they just seem to not brush it off. I mean, rest in peace to Lee Seung-kyun, who was also under scrutiny of netizens because of drug charges, simple drug charges, which to us in the West is extremely trivial. And again, DUI is not a trivial crime, but it is something that, you can show remorse for. And I'm pretty sure Kim Se-ron did. I don't think she was a brat about it or anything like that.
Considering the obvious depression that she went through as a result of this incident, I would say that she was very remorseful.
Yeah. But I don't know. I was pretty gutted. I haven't seen that many of her movies, but I'm a big fan of Ajashi, Man from Nowhere. And yeah, she was just someone that had a lot of talent and was someone that was really willing to do the extra mile for her roles, especially if you watch A Girl at My Door. There's some pretty confronting scenes. So yeah, it kind of just sucks to see that in this case, the society won and the netizens got the better of her in the end. It happens way too often. I mean, I'm not sure if we talked about the Soo Young incident.
Yeah, Soo Young. I mean, there's a lot, like Sully.
Yeah, Sully. Definitely. That was another huge loss.
So 24 is just way too young. And, such a bright talent snuffed out way too early. It is a huge shame. And I think, like, the vitriolic nature of netizens, I don't think anybody really wants people to kill themselves over it. But, like, their words have power, man. And I think that's what people don't realize or don't think about when they're typing all this stuff, It's like, yeah, these are just people. And, like, reading these comments day after day is going to have a negative effect on your mental health.
Yeah.
And can lead to tragedies like this, which, again, I don't think is anybody's intent. But, like, just be kind. just be a bit kinder on the internet, I think, is what I'm trying to get at.
That's the unfortunate downside of human nature. They're not aware that their words have action. They think it's just words. And the fact that she has since passed, they would have the mental gymnastics of, oh, well, maybe she should have just had a thicker skin, or she's in the entertainment industry, she should be aware of this, which is, no. I mean, sure, you will be under forms of criticism, but criticism to the point of just like straight up bullying and not giving someone a chance to redeem themselves, I think it's horrible.
Bullying is never okay and shouldn't be condoned in any form.
No, it's not on. So yeah, I just want to say, just rest in peace to Kim Se-ron. You were great in Man from Nowhere, and that's a movie that has been remembered through the test of time. Yep. I mean, Man from Nowhere is quite a timeless story and has been a very big action film influence on a lot of cinema that comes out frequently. So you will be missed, and I hope you're resting somewhere where people will be kinder. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. All right, shall we move along? Let's talk about a proposed Audition remake. So a remake of Takashi Miike's 1999 cult classic Audition, which is an adaptation itself of Ryo Murakami's 1997 novel. So this proposed Hollywood remake is reportedly being written by Christian Taftrup and his brother Mads Taftrup. Christian Taftrup being the director of 2022's horror thriller Speak No Evil, the Danish Dutch version, not the American remake.
Not the American version, yeah.
So if you haven't seen Audition, you should.
Go watch it. It's great.
Yeah. It's not the easiest of watches, but if you're into horror, if you're into shock horror, then you've probably already seen it, to be honest. But like, it's a classic for a reason. And it's a classic that potentially should probably not be remade, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary. I'm interested to see Christian Taftrup's vision for it.
Because you liked Speak No Evil, the Danish
Yeah,
Dutch
I
version,
really like that movie.
Very grim
I can't say it's
movie.
very enjoyable.
Yeah.
It is very grim.
which Audition is also pretty grim. But
I think Speak No Evil is more grim.
yeah, because there's humor in Audition.
Because there's a bit of humor and it's a bit more fun to watch, and the situation is a lot more ridiculous. Whereas Speak No Evil, it can happen and probably has happened in real life, and it's just it's not fun to watch.
Right.
It's a great movie that is something that you should only watch once, unless you really like feeling bad. But there has been instances where remakes have been on par or sometimes outshone.
They're
the
pretty few
original.
and far between, to be honest.
They're
But
few
you're
and far
right.
between.
You're right. There are good ones. Departed is quite good.
Departed. I guess The Thing is one. Suspiria. Luca Guadagnino's
I
Suspiria.
recently watched that. That was good.
Yeah, I really like the remake. Like I love the original, but I actually like the remake better, which might be sacrilegious to some people.
My favorite Luca Guadagnino movie.
Yeah, I think so too. Actually, it's his most different one. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's probably his least gay one.
Yeah. It's pretty gay at times.
Yeah, but no, just really cool and a really good score. But yeah, I'm interested in it. I mean, I dare say that the film is better than the novel, actually, which I've read. The novel is much more straightforward, whereas Takashi Miike added a lot of surreal elements to it.
I would probably guess that this recent remake, if it does go ahead, would be a remake of the book rather than Takashi Miike's version.
Yeah. I wonder. Yeah.
When I read this news, I was like, why though? But then I was like, oh, if you're going to do it, I guess this guy's a pretty good fit. Because
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
it's the kind of movie where you can't hold back. If you hold back even in the slightest, you're going to fail.
You need to go all the way. You need to piss people off. It needs to be not substance level, but you need people to walk out. I think that's the sign.
You need people to be uncomfortable at the very least. Like this is not a comfort movie.
But that's a hard thing because most people won't fund films that are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at the failure of Bella's Afraid, unfortunately, which is a deeply uncomfortable film to watch.
Yeah.
But not for me. I find it very deeply humorous.
Hilarious.
In fact, I watched it a couple of weeks ago on Netflix again. I was just like, I feel like watching Bella's Afraid again. So that's one of those 3-hour movies that I've seen.
Yeah.
Probably the 3-hour film that I've seen the most, really. Well, actually, no, that's wrong. There's Lord of the Rings. But
But the thing that interests me about this news is that Tafdrup did have some words to say about the American remake of Speak No Evil. Not positive words either.
I think
he was quite critical of the Hollywood remake for changing the ending of his film to a more positive ending. So I'm interested to see whether his words stand up to his actions, I guess, in terms of this remake.
I hope so. It's you just have to see who's funding it.
Yeah.
Because the guy that did the remake of Speak No Evil has his own very depressing invasion thriller, the one where I think it has Michael Fassbender in it, and Gemma Arterton, I think.
Okay.
But it's about chavs that basically torment this couple, and it doesn't have a very happy ending, and the chavs get away with it.
Yeah.
So Blumhouse did the Speak No Evil.
Yeah, so obviously
remake.
there was some studio interference.
Yeah, definitely.
When it came to the remake. So
the more I think about the remake, the more I dislike it. I think I gave it a positive review when we talked about it, but the more I think about it, the ending, that whole act, it just lets everything down by a long, long way to the point where I actually think it's a bad movie, and I kind of retract my positive review on that movie. I think it's a waste of time. Just watch the original. You get a lot more out of it.
yeah, I mean, another thing that makes me hesitant about this proposed remake, is that I feel like Audition is a pretty Japanese movie and concept.
Yeah, I think so. I'd like to see it if it was a Danish remake instead of an American remake. It won't be because it's not going to make money.
I don't know. Like Audition has a mixed bag of ratings as well, I guess, because some people see it as like a feminist revenge film. but others argue that it is more of a misogynistic film disguised as a feminist film.
Yeah.
So
And Takashi Miike is just like, well, I don't care.
yeah,
I don't
he doesn't
really
care
have
because
an
he is a
opinion on
misogynist.
it.
He's definitely a misogynist.
Especially if you watch Ichi the Killer. God damn, man.
So I think a modern,
It's a hard movie to watch.
modern interpretation of it could be something. But yeah, when it comes to Hollywood remakes, you always gotta be wary because they're usually bad.
Yeah. I'm very cautious about it because I never really wanted a remake, and to be honest, I don't think a lot of people who love Audition want a remake because it's nothing that new technology can really enhance. I mean, for example, if you're remaking a superhero film that had shitter technology back in the day, yeah, sure. But Audition sits in its own realm where there is just the very interesting 1999 aesthetic, the VHS aesthetic, and its own weirdness to it. And I don't think it can be replicated, especially if, I don't know who's funding it, but if it goes to Netflix and you give it that typical Netflix, just chuck a light on it aspect, then it could be pretty bad. It has the potential to be one of the worst remakes ever made. But I hope Taft Trap stands by his words and his values as a filmmaker.
It's a pretty fucking low bar as well. The worst Hollywood remake. I think it's Old Boy for me at the moment. Oh no, well, I haven't seen it, but what's it called? The Uninvited is probably yours.
Yeah, The Uninvited. I think that's my personal one.
Yeah.
I wonder if the Old Boy remake is objectively worse. But I think The Uninvited is pretty horrible. So I don't know.
We'll see what happens, I guess. Maybe it won't even happen. Who knows?
Yeah, it might not happen, and we just talked about this for nothing.
It's so late in the game for an Audition remake, to be honest. Like,
I don't think
talking about
Audition? Because J-horror is not even popular anymore anyway, so there's not really that much of a point to do it. But if it comes out and it's good, I'll eat my words.
Why not?
We'll see how we go.
Yeah.
I doubt it'll be better than the original, but yeah, we'll see how we go. Yeah.
All right.
But I mean, on the topic of horror movies, you and I have seen a couple, and we watched Soderbergh's Presence, both you and I, which kind of falls under our umbrella Asian pop culture, because there's an Asian family or mixed-based family. I mean, the story is quite simple. It's about a family that moves into a new house, and they are haunted by a ghostly presence. Really, that's the premise.
So the gimmick is that the film is shot from the perspective of the presence.
Shot using a Sony A7 Mark III.
Oh, all right,
which is a very affordable prosumer camera.
Yeah,
this is how they're able to get the whole flying around look. But yeah, very very cheap movie. Soderbergh, who I know who he is, but I can't quite discern his style.
I mean, people mostly know him from Ocean's 11. Which is a very different film.
Movie. Very, very different film.
That's what interested me in this project, because I don't think he's ever done a horror film. And
no, I don't think so. And arguably still hasn't done a horror film.
We're not doing spoilers for this one, by the way. But yeah, I when I think of Soderbergh, I think of snappy dialogue, which doesn't really fit in with a horror movie or even a dramatic film for that matter, which is more of what Presence is, I guess, more of like a drama thriller than a supernatural horror. Yeah, I mean, I was expecting more of like a Skinamarink kind of thing.
Yeah.
When I saw the trailer, I think the trailer is misleading. I think this movie has been weirdly marketed, and that goes to explain the turnout in the cinemas. My screening was not very full.
I was the only one in my cinema. I think one of the staff actually came in. I think there's a point where, I'm just assuming, there's a point where the staff come in, and if they don't see anyone in the cinema and a good chunk of the movie is done, they just turn it off to save power. But I was that one guy that paid for the ticket to go see it. I was like, oh, fine, because we won't see electricity.
You were the presence of that theater.
I paid for it. I watched this in extreme screen as well, which it didn't need to be watching extreme screen.
Yeah, look, this movie is okay. I think I like the idea. and the concept, but the execution, I think it leads a little bit to be desired. I think it falls down a bit in the, for me anyway, it falls down a bit in the dialogue. I think because you're watching a family drama essentially.
Yeah.
But the family dynamic feels a little bit forced at times.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think the dialogue is natural.
Yeah. I think the marketing was misleading as well. They were definitely marketing it to be a horror film.
Yeah.
Especially when you watch a lot of the, you know, when trailers use critics, it's like, it'll leave you breathless.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. And then I watched it. I'm like, it's not really terrifying. It was quite disappointing. I think that the drama is okay. And I do like that there is an antagonist and there's hints of it throughout the film when I think about it again.
There's a nice little twist at the end as well, which is pretty effective.
The presence itself is not very scary, which is just a bit unfortunate because then there's no tension through the movie. And then you're relying on the family drama, which, again, I don't think the family drama is strong enough. Even if you have, I mean, Lucy Liu's in there. She's the most prolific actor.
So I think the performances are pretty good. It's just, I don't know, there was something about the family dynamic that felt really unnatural to me.
I think it's the story, yeah.
Yeah. There's a few plot threads that just are kind of like red herrings and they don't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
And yeah, the interactions are weird. It's like, and not weird in a good way, just kind of weird in a people don't act like this kind of way. Like Lucy Liu's relationship with her son, for as an example. Like I know what they're going for, but nobody acts like this.
Yeah, there's unfortunately not that much meat to this movie, aside from testing out a pretty interesting premise. Maybe the other film that did try something out like this was In a Violent Nature, which was also very divided in its opinion when that was released. I think I said I wasn't sure if I liked it or not. I think the director of that movie said, no, it's not really supposed to be that art house. It really is just a killer slasher movie, just from that perspective.
Yeah, but then you should have made it more slashery, right?
Yeah. I do like the kills in that movie. So at least that movie did deliver on its promise of very over-the-top deaths. I think the marketing may have let this film down.
It's a hard film to market, though.
Yeah, because people aren't going to go watch a drama with a ghost in it.
Yeah, directed by Steven Soderbergh.
yeah. It is a hard film, but I don't think the loss is really that big because I think the budget was like $2 million. So it is literally an experiment for him.
Yeah, he just wanted to make the Black Book or whatever, that movie with Fassbender and Kate Blanchett that's coming out. I think it's some kind of
really? What's that
some
movie?
kind of assassin movie, The Black Book.
Okay, yeah.
Looks pretty mid.
I do like Fassbender though. I haven't seen it, but I haven't seen the trailer. But yeah, I don't know. I just didn't really like any of the characters either. And I think there's just one point where, I'm not sure if it's a spoiler or not. No, I won't say, but it just really drained the rest of the movie with its tension. And then after that, it's like, well, why am I worried about these characters now? Because there's no explicit, overt conflict or danger. It's just, well, it's just a floating thing now. So it's fine.
I think I know what you're talking about. If we can do just a little bit of spoilers, if you haven't seen it, just skip a little bit ahead. I mean, like there's a point where they all see the ghost do ghost stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then it cuts to them just hanging out outside of their house and they're like, what do we do now? And they just kind of like get over it really easily. Even though it's like solid proof of the supernatural and the afterlife, they're just like, I guess we'll just go back in and go about our lives again.
Yeah, it's kind of that and the bit where it's like, it's pretty much confirmed. Well, it's a speculation that the ghost is not a threat to them.
Yeah.
And then at that point, it's like, okay, then I have no interest in watching this ghost fiddle around.
Yeah.
You know?
And then it takes too long to introduce like a secondary antagonist.
Well, he's been there all along, but you really have to be paying attention.
Not really, because he's got some fucking dialogue where he's just like, nobody except psychopaths talk like this. He's like, I want control. I've never had control in my life. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, mate, just calm down, just settle down. Go pour yourself a glass of
Yeah.
orange juice, mate.
Yeah, I mean,
And it's also like we're meant to feel bad for the daughter, but it is kind of all the daughter's fault as well to an extent.
yeah, I didn't really like the daughter. I just found her a bit unlikable as well. Just, I don't know, just, yeah, something about them that I just had an issue connecting with the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when the movie is just all about a family drama, you got to make the
Yeah.
family at least a bit likable or relatable.
Yeah. Maybe upon second viewing, I might like it more. It's like with Maxine. I watched Maxine again, and I actually enjoyed it a lot more the second time because I kind of was in the right headspace. But this one, I don't really know if I need to see it again because it's not a particularly entertaining film either. So it's interesting idea, but maybe not as well executed as it should have been. But I mean, sticking on the topic of horror, you haven't seen this one yet.
No spoilers, please.
But also another film with very odd dialogue is The Monkey. So this is Osgood Perkins' follow-up to Longlegs, an adaptation of the Stephen King novella, The Monkey, in which there is a cursed toy monkey in which every time it is wound up, it will telepathically kill someone, Final Destination style.
Yeah.
And
The premise
two brothers
is so Stephen King. It sounds like a fucking
is.
Goosebumps novel.
It is. It's funny because you're talking about unnatural dialogue.
Yeah.
The dialogue in this movie is so unnatural,
Sure.
but it is very enjoyable.
Yeah.
It is very Stephen King, just the way they talk to each other. And I can't quite explain it now, but if you watch it, you'll be like, yeah, I'm watching a Stephen King adaptation.
Are there bullies in it?
Yeah, there's there's police
Is there
in it.
religion in it?
There's religion in it. Yeah, there's apocalyptic death in it. But the key premise or the key reason you want to go see this movie is the deaths, and they are so gorily over the top. It's weird. It hits that sweet spot where it is very grimly violent, but it's really fun to watch because the deaths are very, very implausible.
Yeah.
But they're just really, really funny. There's a point in the climax of the film where it just goes fucking balls to the walls, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. The effects, from what I know, seem mostly practical. There's probably a lot of compositing, but yeah, I really like the dialogue in this movie and the weirdness.
Yeah.
And Osgood has a very good eye for cinematography as well, which I think I reckon Longlegs should have got a nomination for cinematography because there is a lot to the art of this weird kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but there's something very oddly relaxing about his cinematography, even though it's a very threatening film. And I talk about that a lot when I watch Longlegs, or have spoken about Longlegs. It's a very different movie from Longlegs. Longlegs takes itself a bit more seriously, except for when Nick Cage does Nick Cage things. But this movie is definitely very silly. It's really short. It's an hour and a half. And it's never boring. The leads are quite fun to watch, and the interactions with all the people are very fun. And the escalation of deaths in this movie is quite well built up. And a lot of the jokes and payoffs involving some of the deaths in this movie are really funny. It might be the funniest movie I've seen this year.
Okay.
Because, yeah, it's really tightly written. It's not a very pretentious movie. If you're willing to expose yourself to strange dialogue, I'd definitely go watch it. Like, I'd actually kind of want to watch this movie again in the cinema. Because my only negative about this movie was not the movie itself, because I watched it I didn't watch this in the city, I just watched this nearby, and there was like a couple of kids behind us that were like talking a lot through the movie.
I mean, it is that kind of movie,
I was
right?
just like getting a bit pissed off. Yeah, it is that kind of movie, but it wasn't the fun kind of I'm laughing because I'm nervous talking. It's just talking. And it's just like, man, like, shut the fuck up, you know? Yeah. So I kind of want to watch this movie again without the ignorance of other people, I suppose.
That's how I want to watch all my movies, Tavi. But we live in the real world.
Well, most of the time I watch my movies at Pentridge or in the city, so I don't really have an issue there. Even if I watch a movie at Airport West, nobody fucking goes there, so it's not very busy either. But yeah, that's the slight negative experience that I had watching this movie.
Yeah.
It's just, suspend your disbelief and just watch a fun hour and a half of gore mongering, I suppose.
Looks fun.
But it's never cruel. Everything is over in an instant. It's not like a Hostel or any of the French extremity films like Martyrs or Frontiers.
Yeah, it's more like a Final Destination, right?
Yeah. I think even if you're squeamish, you should be all right with this movie. But then again, that's coming from me. So, who knows? Yeah.
Well, people love Final Destination, so I'm sure this is gonna have its own.
There's a new one coming out. There was a trailer for Final Destination when I was watching it. So yeah,
it's just a tried and tested formula. Final Destination.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Final Destination movies. Something about the premise.
I've only seen one of them, the one with the highway scene, which everybody knows about.
Oh yeah, that's probably like the second one or something, or the third one. Yeah, I don't actually like the premise of those movies, which is odd because I like the monkey, but I don't know. Final Destination feels a bit teen slashery for me. I think
it does have that vibe.
Whereas
it's also like the antagonist essentially is fate, which is not as fun. Scary.
Yeah. Whereas as in the monkey, it is the monkey. But like, is he the real antagonist? Who knows? But that kind of thing.
It's probably religion. That's the main antagonist. It's probably an alcoholic stepdad.
The bullies in this movie are not as extreme as other Stephen King, but there's a bit of framing where you first see them that I think is really funny. It's very stylized, and I just laughed when they came on. And it's good stuff. You'd enjoy it, Dan.
Looks like a good
I might go watch it
combination.
again later. Yeah, it's pretty fun. Maybe escape the heat for a bit.
All right, shall we move along?
Yeah, let's do it to the Prosecutor.
All right, are you ready for justice, Tavi? Justice at any cost.
Oh, I'm ready for some justice. You ready for some justice?
So, some people might not know what this is. The Prosecutor, starring Donnie Yen, a 2024 action thriller, but came out in Australia the year of our Lord 2025.
Action law thriller, maybe.
Yeah,
crime.
There's a lot of
crime.
There's a bit of courtroom drama here going on here.
But like
a surprising
honestly,
amount
like,
to be honest.
Maybe like 50% courtroom drama, to be honest.
Very interesting film. So this is a film directed and co-produced and starring Donnie Yen, who most people will probably know from recently John Wick 4, but obviously big-time action Hong Kong star.
Yeah, he's one of the greats.
Definitely solidified his name in the martial arts action scene.
Yeah, looking pretty good for 61 years old. Yeah.
What's his secret, Tavi? His passion for the law, no doubt.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
It's probably just
CGI.
being rich and
being rich
Asian
as well. Yeah, that probably helps a lot. Yeah, this movie's probably not in the cinemas anymore by the time we've published it.
No,
but I'm sure there'll be some streaming service that you can watch it. Because this was released by, I think the international release is Wild Go USA. So they're the company that usually releases a lot of these Hong Kong Chinese action films. They've done the Nezha and Nezha 2, which we'll be covering at some point.
Yeah, big films then.
Yeah, I was initially very, very excited to watch this movie because it just looked like a fucking John Wick. John Wick-ish.
Well, the first thing that we saw about this, or maybe this is just me, but the first thing I saw about it is the trailer where it's like a full scene of the film.
Yeah, so it's
that POV action scene.
It's the opening sequence of the film.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you want to give a quick story overview?
Yeah. Well, so this movie is not really spoiler heavy. But if you want to go in fresh, maybe I don't know, go watch it before listening to this. But again, it's an action film, so it's pretty straightforward. But the premise is Donnie Yen, he plays a cop at the start of the film, goes by the name of Fok Chi Ho. And after busting some drug dealers and the drug dealers getting away on a technicality due to miscarriages of the law, of the legal system, he decides to quit being a police officer and instead become a prosecutor, so a prosecuting attorney. So he decides to, step away from the law side of the legal system and step into the order side of the legal system.
He's getting old there and he can't fight guys anymore.
Well, yeah,
even though he takes on like a whole fucking family brawl.
Yeah, exactly. He's making room for younger police officers to take over that part of it, and he's trying to deliver justice in a different way, I guess.
Yeah, but I think the overarching plot is he's a prosecutor and a defendant has come across his way who he doesn't think deserves to be prosecuted. So he kind of goes out of his way to solve this crime in which he unveils corruption and
quickly,
blah, blah, blah.
Quickly
Usual
decides that
Hong
being
Kong.
a lawyer is boring and decides to just start fighting crime
Just being
again.
a detective.
It's like, oh man, not as many like fly kicks in these courtrooms.
So it is pretty apparent that this script was not intended to be an action film. So the screenwriter Edmund Wong wrote this screenplay based on a 2016 drug trafficking case,
Loosely based.
which I'm not. I'm not familiar with the real case, but as fun as action scenes are, there definitely seem to be a little bit tacked on, which they must have been, because I'm assuming Donnie Yen did a few rewrites where he's just like, yeah, I'm just a detective again.
Yeah.
And he just goes around beating up a bunch of people.
He's playing to his strengths,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair enough. You sign on, you decide to watch a movie starring Donnie Yen. You might not be prepared for a 2-hour courtroom drama.
Like legal courtroom drama. So when I watched this movie and I watched the opening 10 minutes, which was available on YouTube, that immediately draws you in, which is probably maybe the second best action scene in the film.
Well, it's the most unique, probably. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good action in this.
Yeah, there's a lot of good action in this
courtroom
movie.
drama.
But there's a lot of courtroom drama which some people might not expect.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I actually really enjoyed the courtroom drama. I don't think the courtroom drama is that compelling, but it is the acting and how clear
It's
and
so cheesy.
unlikable the people are that he is
cheesy.
against, and how corrupt. There's enough melodrama in there, which makes it compelling to watch. It is a very Hong Kong style.
Like you're not watching an episode of Law and Order. You're not watching The Practice.
Yeah. Well, you're not watching Anatomy of a Fall as well.
Yeah.
I think Hong Kong and Chinese cinema do these kind of stories very, very well. Where it's
well, it depends on your definition of well, right? Like if you're looking for
they do it in a very entertaining manner. It's very watchable. Yeah.
This movie would be torn to shreds by one of those YouTube videos where it's like
I know,
professional lawyer reacts to The Prosecutor by Donnie Yen. Yeah.
It's just like, hi, I'm a real lawyer and I'm here to ruin the fun. So here we go. And look, I know courtrooms don't act this way. I've heard in some cases they do get heated and dramatic, but I don't think it is as clear cut. And there's just a lot of very clever camera shots and camera angles, as well as just the performance and just enough editing to give you the story on how corrupt some of these people are. Because I think the basis is there's a young kid who has been busted what's the word I'm looking for?
He's the fall guy for like...
Yeah, he's the fall guy.
Yeah.
But he's not... He doesn't have anything to do with it.
He kind of gets conned by his defense attorney to take the fall for this crime, where he's a very small part of. But they're like, you'll be fine. You just take the fall and do a couple of years in prison and you'll be fine. We'll get you out.
Yeah.
So he does this to protect like the bigger fish, I guess. But then it turns out that he gets put in jail for a long time, longer than he expected. And Donnie Yen's like, nah, that's fucked, mate. Like, I know I'm supposed to be prosecuting you, but
it's like, I'm supposed to be prosecuting. It's like, so a lot of the conflicts, like, aren't you supposed to be a prosecutor?
Yeah,
and it's just like, I prosecute when the law is justice. So there's
I'm here for justice.
In there.
Not here to put criminals away, when they haven't done anything.
But there's a number of action scenes that are, admittedly tacked on, but they're still very fun to watch. I think
the one that you mentioned, the opening one, is really cool because it's like point of view. I mean, you if you watch that one on YouTube and you're like, yeah, this is something that I'll enjoy, I think you would enjoy the movie as a whole.
I think so.
Yeah. But yeah, be prepared for some courtroom drama.
Business, if look, I think the courtroom drama is very easy to follow.
Yeah.
And I quite like one of the guys who is the head corrupt dude.
So this
is his interaction.
You mean the lawyer?
The lawyer.
Character's name is All Pak-man, played by Julian Chung.
Well, that guy, you see scenes of him working with the crime bosses that he's working for, but he's also getting very frustrated by those guys because they are kind of doing whatever they want. Yeah. He's like, okay, guys, you need to fucking lay low for a bit, and they just kill someone. And it's quite frustrating to watch. It's like, man, I could get away with it if you guys weren't so fucking stupid. And then they just end up sort of self-destructing themselves. Yeah. And it's funny as that kind of corrupt lawyer where he's a slimy guy, but there's that aspect of empathy because of the people that he's working with.
Yeah, he's slowly unraveling throughout the movie. He's quite slick at the start of the film, but then as things slowly start to not go his way, and Donnie Yen, he starts fucking up his plan.
He's getting closer into the case.
He starts doing more drugs, getting more sweaty. His hair gets more disheveled. Shirt comes untucked. It's pretty fun to watch. All the bad guys in this film are fun to watch.
I mean, this is one spoiler that I just have to talk about. It. And I think you know who we're going to talk about. So there's a plot point where the kid who's being wrongfully accused, his dad is trying to kind of fight the system. Yeah. And Donnie Yen manages to rescue him from an assassin who comically jumps out this car window.
It's so funny when he jumped out that window. How did he gain any momentum from that situation to be able to do that? It's neither here nor there.
And he just turns and goes, hey, and he just does that glare. But so he rescues the guy, and the dad's like, oh, I hate the system. It's all fucked. But then Donnie Yen wins him over. There's a big fight scene, which is quite cool, and Donnie Yen beats up a ton of guys. Very fun fight sequence, and he takes a fair bit of damage himself. So the dad, he's regained his faith in the justice system thanks to Donnie Yen's kindness.
Things are finally starting to go their way.
So they're having lunch. And all they need to do is I think the dad has to testify against those guys. And it's like the gist of the conversation is like, oh, so this is all I have to do, and then my son is free.
He's like, pretty soon I'm gonna be able to go to my son's wedding. I can't wait. I never thought I'd live long enough to see my son's wedding. Thank you, Donnie Yen.
I can't wait to keep living to see my son's wedding.
Boy, this food is delicious.
And Donnie Yen's just like, well, let me just go take a piss. He goes to the toilet, washes his head, comes back, and the guy's like, whoa, just coughing up blood. He's been
the guy is so stabbed. He's stabbed so many times, Tommy.
It's really funny. And I remember the line specifically, what's translated is like, you're just going to hang in there. And it's just the tone of that scene where everything is like, it's going to be fine. Like, we don't need to do any more fight scenes whatsoever to get to the end. Your son's going to be a free man. There's no need for witness protection. Don't even trip. Even by this point in the movie, there've been several attempts on your life. Don't even worry about it. Let's go to this open area where you can easily get stabbed. It's all good. Don't worry about it.
It's the classic only 2 days left to retirement kind of situation. It's very good.
Funny. Yeah, that's the funniest part. I mean, it's not inherently funny, but just anyone that knows a film structure finds it funny.
And that's what this film is. There's not really any nuance to it. It's like a pretty blunt instrument of an action film. But I think that's what makes it effective as well. Like it's pure comfort viewing, I would say. Yeah. Like the action itself as well, it's perhaps more grounded than something like Twilight of the Warriors.
There's no secret magic powers unless the magic power is just being Donnie Yen.
That's right. There's no flying around or anything. it is pretty much Donnie Yen doing his thing. Like if you enjoyed him in John Wick, then it's more of that stuff.
It's more of like a SPL kind of stylized action. Yeah. I mean, there's a final boss kind of. He finally takes on that assassin that I guess killed the uncle and jumped out the window, jumped out the car window.
Yeah.
That seems
Fights him
cool.
on a train.
Yeah.
It's very cool. He's trying to protect some scumbag while he's fighting as well. Yeah. He's got some Jason Statham-esque one-liners in there. He's like, I object, and then he kicks him in the face. It's pretty good.
It's not touched upon that much, but there's and I found it a little bit confusing, but there's kind of the typical, in this case, it's not the chief of police, but it's the chief of the prosecutor's department. She's kind of like, you are a lion kind of character. They have like a funny interaction where I think Donnie Yen is starting to investigate the corruption amongst the force.
Department of Justice. And the guy like goes over to his house and they get into a bit of an argument. Get into a scuffle.
And it's like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking investigate you, motherfucker. And it's like, you fuck. And then they start having a bit of a scuffle.
It's so funny. He's like, you got no friends, you got no pets, nobody loves you. And the guy's like, that's it. Rolls up his sleeve.
And I found it confusing because then they just kind of make up as like, you got that spark back in you. Okay, I guess he's not a bad guy, I suppose.
Yeah, because he is kind of built up like a guy that, you know, you're supposed to suspect as being a corrupt person, right? But like that scene is kind of the turning point in that situation. but it was really funny.
I really enjoyed that scene. I mean, there's pretty much maybe 4 or 5 main action scenes. There's a scene where Donnie Yen, I think he's hanging out with one of his old cop buddies or something, and then they chase that Indian gang, and then there's a fight scene.
So that character is Lee King-wai. Played by MC Chung Tin-Fu, who I'm not familiar with, younger bloke.
He's just a former subordinate,
probably some kind of musician, I reckon.
And it's got that typical Hong Kong inspirational speech moment when things are looking down. I guess it's the Better Tomorrow Beaver moment where the... even though he's not a detective anymore, he's still ordering his former subordinates around. And like, man, we've been working for fucking hours for days to find this one guy. And Donnie Yen's like up their ass for not like working hard enough. And then Donnie Yen's just like, look, man, I did this, this, and this, so you can do better now. And it's like, oh, okay, sorry, Donnie Yen. And they're just like, yeah, okay, we'll work harder. And then it's just like somehow inspirational. I'm like, nah, man, like these guys, they need a break. They're not all about the job. They got lives. Yeah.
Like they don't portray the police force as incompetent in any way. So it is a bit like, they're trying, Donnie Yen. Not everybody's as good as you. Being a policeman and a prosecutor. But there's also an inspirational bit where I think earlier in the movie they make a wager about like a point in the case where Donnie Yen's if I'm wrong, I'll buy you a beer or whatever. And then there's a point in the movie where Donnie Yen and his sidekick, who's played by Kent Cheng, I forget the character's name, but he's got a sidekick. They're left alone in the Department of Justice to kind of investigate through the records themselves because everybody's kind of given up on the case. But then all of their lawyer subordinates come in one by one and drop a beer off because they realize that Donnie Yen was right. And then they all start helping to investigate. And then, that's when they kind of make a breakthrough in the case. Yeah,
because Donnie Yen is never wrong. He's just perfect in every way. And I think it's cool. Like in the fight scenes, he does take a little bit of damage as well.
I mean, he's fighting like 30 guys at a time. So
you gotta take a little bit of damage. And even the final fight scene is quite fun when he's just on a train and I think there's a couple of goons with guns and then he like takes them all down and then it's the main assassin guy and it's pretty much reminiscent of the Henry Cavill Tom Cruise fight scene on that train.
Yeah, where it's like a bigger man fighting a smaller protagonist. You know? So he's kind of on the back foot because of the differences in brute strength. But he uses his wits to break some glass and make the guy step on the glass and kick him in the face or whatever.
Yeah, I think this movie is fairly violent, but it is as like much action violence as most of these Hong Kong action films are. It's not particularly bloody.
Yeah.
There's
The
it's
bloodiest scene is when the old guy
yeah.
gets rinsed.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of stab wounds.
Uncle.
Like, oh, but then they managed to just find some other chick later to like testify, and then it's all good. And then all
Yeah.
the corrupt people go to, yeah, it's you know Donnie Yen's gonna win in some way or another. And I think that's what maybe happened in the real life case, which I tried to Google, but there's not that much information about it. So yeah, and I guess it wasn't really worth the time. It's just like, yeah, I'm sure I trust their word on it. It's like, yeah, I'm sure it's a true story.
Yep.
Yeah, everything wraps up like pretty neatly. I don't think there's going to be a Prosecutor 2.
I would go for a Prosecutor remake though. Hollywood remake starring Jason Statham.
Yeah, Jason Statham's a Prosecutor.
Yeah.
I'd watch that. That'd be a pretty
of course.
decent remake.
This is basically a Jason Statham movie.
Yeah. I mean, doesn't Ben Affleck have The Accountants? The Accountant 2
He's got The
is coming
Accountant
out
2
soon.
coming, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize the first one was that popular. But
I
yeah.
remember seeing it and thinking it was okay. He's like he's like an autistic accountant / assassin in that movie.
Oh, really?
John Bernthal
Okay.
is his brother. Yeah. Not sure if it's a respectful portrayal of people with autism, but
I haven't heard people.
Yeah.
I didn't even know. I haven't heard people complain about it because I think he's just doing cool stuff. So yeah, maybe it's fine. Who knows?
probably fine. But yeah, Jason Statham, the Prosecutor, make it happen.
If you had made this movie in the mid 2000s or even the 90s, it would still feel like it was embedded in a correct time period. It is very much a Hong Kong justice law story. And this story is kind of timeless. It's not for everyone. There's a certain maybe old-fashioned datedness about this kind of story, but it's comforting, especially if you're familiar with this kind of storytelling where it's pretty melodramatic. And again, it's very clear in its intent and the story that it's trying to tell. Again, it's not probably a very realistic take on prosecution. I'm pretty sure there is a YouTube channel where there is a lawyer and he dissects courtroom dramas in the movies to see if they're in real life. Yeah,
Most definitely there is one.
yeah. So maybe send this one his way. He'd probably be like, nah, none of this is real at all. You can't be a prosecutor and a cop. You will just get fired immediately.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But you know.
Yeah. You just give a speech, Tavi, and tell your boss that he's got no friends and no pets and nobody loves him, and then have a scuffle with him, and you'll be fine.
That's exactly how I'm gonna treat my future jobs from now on. Is if I ask for more funding, like, look, what do you believe in? You got no pets.
Yeah.
It's good into a
People
scuffle.
respect you if you're willing to scuffle with them a bit, Tavi.
Well, I feel like you just don't want to fire Donnie Yen because he's gonna beat the shit out of you later. He'll find something against you and then use it and then prosecute you over it.
But yeah, I mean, I don't have that much more to say about this film. I would say it's a pretty well balanced film overall. Like, you know, if you like action films, the courtroom drama is not going to take you out of it.
Yeah. I would have liked it to be a lot more focused on one side. I wanted to see more action, to be honest. I think that's what it was sold as. And I think the criticism is that, yeah, it's telling two stories. It's telling an action movie story as well as a courtroom drama. Even though I enjoyed both aspects of it, as a courtroom drama, it probably doesn't delve into its themes well enough. And I don't think the audience that are watching the movie are looking for that anyway. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, really. Are you going to tell a straightforward action movie with Donnie Yen, or are you going to tell a courtroom drama? Because I can guarantee you, if this was a courtroom drama that didn't have Donnie Yen in it, you and I would not have gone to see it at all. So I guess you got to play ball a bit with what you've got. And you've got a good action star, and I don't know. I'm not sure how the screenwriter feels about it. Maybe he's like, "What? Like, where's all this action?"
I mean, it
is
telling a message. It is, you know, kind of highlighting how the legal system is not perfect, but it's just so like not subtle.
Yeah, it's
no
really
nuance to it.
It's really
like you
not
can't
subtle.
really take it seriously.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess in that way, maybe it's not what the screenwriter intended.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot more to deal with those themes in the original screenplay, but maybe it's just not as fun to watch. You wouldn't be able to bank on the international office that well. But I don't know. Anatomy of a Fall has a pretty good courtroom drama aspect to it. And that did the rounds. But that was kind of more like an Oscar baity kind of film. I mean,
But would that movie have been improved with fly kicks?
with Donnie Yen. Yeah, like the German actress starts like beating up and fly kicking people. Yeah. But no, I mean, yeah, check it out. If you like Donnie Yen, you'll probably like this movie.
Agreed. All right. Well, that's The Prosecutor. Well, what did you guys think about this movie? Was it what you were expecting? Would you have preferred a more grounded tale? Let us know. You can get in touch with us at twoasianblokes@gmail.com. You can join our Facebook group to be part of the conversation, or you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at twoasianblokes to see what we're up to.
Well, that's it. Court's adjourned.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
Yeah, I like it. Good stuff.
All right. We'll catch you guys next time.
Yeah.
See ya.